Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Transport Evolved live stream. If I look a little bit tired, it's because I am. It's a busy weekend. Did you have a good weekend, Kate?
I had a very good weekend. It wasn't quite as restful as some weekends are.
Yes. Okay. First,
take a deep breath.
Hello, everybody. As you saw from the title of this this video, we have now entered the lauded halls of oft misquoted and misrepresented people. They include the EV Man, Bjorn Nyland, electrifying the YouTube channel. Who else have they misrepresented?
Isn't there one called Electra Heads, something like that?
Electra Heads, yeah. They have misrepresented a lot of people, basically.
I mean, yeah, it's very disappointing that they left us so long. I mean, really.
I mean, obviously we're not at the top of their list.
I can't imagine why.
However, we knew what we were dealing with when the debacle kicked off. And today's video is not a video in defense of us because we did nothing wrong. Today's video is to let you all know exactly how this went down and how insidious and how hateful and how terrible the Sun is. I probably just put a target on my back, but you know what? I already had one.
Yeah, I mean, given who we are, then they already hated us anyway. I'm startled.
Who we are and how we identify. How about that?
Yeah.
Just a little explainer here and a little background. The Sun is notoriously terrible. It has been a UK tabloid paper in the gutter for more than half a century. It's been around much longer, but I would argue really it's just in the last 50 years or so that it has become the newspaper it is today. For those who don't know, The Sun is, for example, a publication. I think they still do their page 3 girls.
I thought they'd stop doing that.
They did for many years publish basically what they called tasteful nudes.
Yeah, softcore porn.
Softcore porn in their newspaper because it encouraged a certain clientele of people to buy it.
A particular demographic.
Pre-internet days when they would need something to enjoy over their lunch break with their mates.
Yes. Yeah, I did my work experience in a garage, and they had pictures of the page from page 3 pinned up in the break room. Yes.
So
they
this is
pinned up in other places too, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. So this is the kind of publication that that is known for being problematic. Politically, it's always gone, and I apologize. Can you hear me better now? The internet has it's always been a problem with their content. Politically, they've also lent towards certain political parties. They are owned by Rupert Murdoch, and for our North American audience, people who have never heard of The Sun, maybe, although The Sun now has an American presence and Canadian presence. I know it's already in Australia. It's part of the Murdoch empire, right? So Sky News, Fox News, they're all owned by the same guy, and they all have that same political bent. Back when I was growing up in the late 90s, this organization, I don't want to call them a newspaper.
Well, they're not. That's why you don't want to call them a newspaper.
This publication was notorious for hounding queer people, trans people, and sometimes leading them to make irreversible decisions about their life. I didn't put a content warning on this stream, so I didn't use, but I think you can tell from my euphemisms where that went. They are also believed to have played a huge part in what happened to Diana, however you feel about that. So they are not well respected. Let's leave it at that. And they have a habit of basically copying other people's journalism and not caring. They have one goal, and that is getting eyeballs and getting ad revenue. So on Friday last week, and I know I'm taking a long time to explain this. I'm taking a long time to explain this because that's how I roll, and I want to make sure I am comprehensive.
Context.
Thank you, Robert. You are awesome. Context is king. Exactly. Before I get any further, if you want to support the channel, you can use a super thanks or a super chat here in the live stream if you're watching on YouTube. Alternatively, if you want to become a Patreon supporter, you can support us at patreon.com/Transport Evolved. And you can support us from $1 a month. And it really helps.
Slightly less than $1 a month if you can pay yearly.
Yes, slightly less than $1 a month if you pay yearly. Anyway, so on Tuesday last week, we got up really early in the morning. I got up at 3 a.m. and I drove to the airport in the pickup truck because my wife needed a car that day. I also managed to reverse my pickup truck into my wall at my house, and I have done some damage to the bumper. They are looking at repairing that right now because I'm an idiot. All good. And we got on a very early flight to San Diego, paid for by our Patreon supporters. I just want to be really clear. We were able to use money from our patrons to pay for it. Actually, the reality is that it was my credit card points, but it was credit card points funded by all of the things that I've been able to buy for the company, like hard drives for the computers and all of that stuff, which have accumulated over time. And I wouldn't be able to do any of that without you guys' support. So thank you. So we took a flight down to San Diego. As you know, we don't normally like flying. We try and drive where possible, but the economics of flying were a lot less. It would have taken us kind of 2.5, 3 days to get down and 2.5, 3 days to get back. We couldn't financially make that work.
And logistically, like that is multiple days out of our video production schedule.
Right. And when there's multiple people going, like when there's 4 of us going, it makes more sense for us to drive because someone can be editing while someone's driving and someone else is sleeping and all of that. But when it's just 2 of us, it's kind of hard. So we flew down. We arrived in San Diego. We picked up our rental car. We rented a Chevrolet Bolt with a B as a camera car for the day. That's why there is a Chevrolet Bolt in the Aptera video, apparently in front of us at all times. And we drove to Aptera, which was about an hour's drive from the airport. We said hello to everybody, and we'd been invited down to drive Gamma, which is a pre-production prototype of Aptera. It's not Pi, production intent. They call it Pi. This is one down from that, okay? Or possibly 2 down. It's the one where they're constantly tweaking it and refining it. This is something that we don't normally gain access to in the industry. As automotive journalists, it's rare for car companies to give you access. So when a car company does give you access, it's an incredible sign of trust and respect.
And
it's also...
Certainly access like this, like sometimes they'll let you drive around like a little closed course, which is what we did with the Byton.
Yes.
They'll give you the car for like 5 minutes with a driver with you or with someone in the car to be like, you can press that. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but this was an actual, you can be in the car, you can drive, and you can go out on this drive and you can experience the car. Now, we were going to go out with one of their team, And then Donut Media had gone out and they'd done a drive and they were very impressed. So I was like, because Donut went out on their own, do you mind if I go out on my own? They were like, fine. I was like, well, someone from Aptera, because it's a prototype, there needs to be someone with the vehicle. So they went with the camera car with M. And then there was somebody else following on from the press team, kind of just making sure that we weren't given too much grief, just to make sure if there was a cop who decided to stop us, that they were there to ask and tell. I mean, it was road legal and everything and insured, but at the same point, it's a prototype, it stands out. So there was someone from Aptera following us in a Tesla, a red Tesla. So that's why there's a red Tesla following us for some of the video. And we took it out. Now, before I was given the chance to drive it out of their facility, their production facility, into the parking lot, I didn't film that. It was just like, oh, just first time I'm getting to drive it. We parked it up. Em started to put the cameras on. Bear in mind, we only had 2.5, 3 hours before we had to return to the airport to fly back to Portland. While the car was outside, Chris Anthony, the company CEO, came out and he had 2 investors with him from New York and he wanted to show them what Gamma could do. So he strapped them in one by one and started doing high-speed demonstrations in the parking lot. One of the things was, high torque burnouts, right? Demonstrating what the car could do. Between us driving it out and parking it up and turning it off and him getting back in it, he turned it on. Now, it's a prototype. It doesn't have all of the normal startup stuff that you would have in any car. And that's very common. Anybody who's spent time in a prototype EV will say very often there's a big red button that you can smash if something goes wrong with a battery pack. That is required in prototypes at certain stages in certain markets. Sometimes you'll see there's a bunch of extra switches that aren't in the finished vehicle, but those switches are designed to do things like quickly reboot certain parts of the car without completely shutting power. In the case of Gamma, there were a couple of switches hidden away, one of which was the parking brake, one of which was the cooling for the motor or for the motor system, the power electronics. And there was another switch as well. I think it was like a master reboot switch. And I just want to pause here. Whatever happened to any publicity is good publicity. Don't worry. We're not worried. But as is always the case, context. We like to give context. And I'll explain that in a minute. I do apologize. Is my connection pretty bad?
I mean, I'm getting you okay, but I don't know if Robert is.
Well, you're getting weird noises. So let me double check and make sure that I am actually set up properly as well. So if you can sort your audio out for me there, Kay, that'd be good.
What audio? What weird noises?
You're crackling.
Like
you normally do.
That's weird.
Let me see if we can get Kate to... It happens sometimes. I know it does happen sometimes.
Or do I need to leave and come back?
No, that's much better. Kate is clear as a bell again, which is good.
That's weird. I have a new mic, so I was like, maybe that will fix it, but apparently not.
Nope. Bear in mind, Nikki sounds good, and Nikki's video is sometimes choppy. Yeah, I live out in the boonies. We're relying on an internet connection being beamed down the valley because Starlink won't work on this. Starlink is just so unreliable, it won't work. Okay, so back where we were. So Chris Anthony took the car out. He did not turn on the cooling system for the motor and the inverter. At the moment, that's still in very much a pre-production phase. Eventually, Aptera will use the belly pan of the vehicle to have cooling loops in it. The body of the car I drove, or the vehicle I drove, is not production intent. That's now being manufactured in Europe. But and that means they had extra cooling loops. So the cooling loops needed to be turned on. He forgot to do that. Now, Aptera uses in-wheel motors, right? Very, very compact, very high power for their physical size and dimensions. And there's no cooling fans on, as far as I'm aware, there's no cooling apparatus on the actual motor. It relies on cooling to be piped into the motor and then a loop to bring the hot fluid away. Same for the motor controller. They didn't get that cooling, even though it was only a short burst of power. It was enough to get the whole of that system up to boiling point or above. Because of that, when I took the car out to do the initial part of the filming, it died. A couple of occasions where it was like, I'm not happy. We stopped, we let it cool down, we tried again. And the second time when we were filming, it actually died. And that's what you see on camera, right? Where I radio and go, and it's dead. And it won't go into park because the on-screen switch, the infotainment system is like a Tesla. You press the button to select the gear. It wouldn't respond because it had gone into an error fail-safe state and needed to be rebooted. Okay. I wasn't in any danger. I had someone behind me. I was in radio contact with a camera car. We were able to get that all fixed really quickly. So at that point, we decided what we would do was that I would jump in the camera car. The representative from Aptera who was in the camera car jumped out to drive it back. They met with one of the engineering team to make sure that the vehicle was okay and to bring it back to the shop. We were only a couple miles down the road. And we brought it back to the shop. At this point, we had less than an hour and a half before we had to leave. We're like, okay, let's interview Chris Anthony. Let's do the interview. And before we got back to the shop, the press team had figured out what happened, namely that the cooling fans weren't on, it had overheated and everything needed to cool down. They brought it back to the shop. They took off the panels around the wheels and opened up the vehicle to allow it to cool down more quickly. They ran the fans. They got it back down to ambient temperature. And at that point, we'd finished the interview. So like, okay, while M packed everything back into the rental, I took it out again with the GoPros. And we had a chase car from Aptera just with me in case anything went wrong. And I filmed the whole second part of the review. That is why those things happened. Why the thermal mistake? Again, inverters cooling has been installed for some time, but motor cooling is new. I'll tell you why. Because humans. We're humans.
Yeah, humans make mistakes all the time. And you really want to build systems that allow for humans to make mistakes and still end up with the result you want.
It's why we have computers in cars very often, because computers are really sucky at doing a lot of things, like driving. Computers suck at driving. But computers are very, very good at doing things in a particular order again and again and again and again and again.
And humans get lazy and they take shortcuts. And that's why, and I'm going to bring in nursing here. Like, if you work in an OR, we have a thing called a timeout. And we do it in the ER as well if we're doing a procedure where we're sedating someone. And that is that you have an actual checklist and you run through and you check that you're doing the things you need to do.
Right.
The reason you do that is because people forget, they're in a hurry. They get used to, I'll just do this. And then things go wrong. I have a checklist on the back of the camera for filming with the Ninja, particularly with the Ninja, because I don't use it very often.
Can you see this?
Kind of.
This is one of the Transport Evolved checklists. It's Rev 1, pre-flight, batteries charged, memory cards formatted, camera sensor and lens optics cleaned, audio and visual present, see graph, add base plate, collect necessary accessories. This is one of yours, right, Em? This is one of your checklists.
Yeah, it's a very early one.
So
it needs to be updated, actually.
So actually, come talk about this, because M is really big on this is M, by the way, our camera person and DP.
Hello.
M is really big on checklists. M is a complete and utter pain in my butt sometimes when it comes to checklists.
Yes, lists are good.
But because you used to work in machining industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
M was a professional machinist. What happens when things go wrong when you're working with machines?
People can get hurt or die if things aren't properly
and you've
conveyed.
worked at shops before.
Yeah,
where
the last I'm not going to say too much on it, but the last shop someone had like 40 stitches, in his arm, because a safety protocol was removed on a lathe, and I think I don't actually know if that was directly related to a list, but they didn't do the things that they were supposed to do, and they exposed various parts of their arm.
Yes. So these filming checklists are so that we don't screw up, because, I mean, being on location is very stressful. Like, we literally had 3 hours, I think, between us arriving at Aptera and needing to leave.
Yeah.
We had to get everything done in a particular order. Mm-hmm. We pack extra stuff when we film. Mm-hmm. So we actually took these with us. We don't normally use these because the sound quality from these is less than the sound quality from our radio mics that you sometimes see us wandering around events with. Mm-hmm. But we made a judgment call on Wednesday or Tuesday. We actually ended up using these because the amount of time it would take us to set up the other microphones, it was just like, nope, we're just going to go with those. Having all of those things is important, and checklists are important. And yes, Chris, the CEO of Aptera, he is to, quote, blame, as Robert says. But considering this is a prototype and we all humans, it's more than understandable. I actually enjoyed the dramatic change of Nikki's feedback on the video. Genuine joy. So thank you. But that is, it happens, right? Things happen. Company CEOs are very busy. They have a lot to do. I run a company. I don't consider myself a CEO, but I am the person who runs the company. And what was it I said to you all in stand-up this morning? My brain is in a million different places. I'm going to make mistakes today. Just,
Bear with.
I mean, the things that I've forgotten, like I need to pay my property tax. I've got it sitting on my desk there. Things that just pop in randomly. Unless I actually write lists and I actually work through things, I screw up, and sometimes I still screw up. A good example of this was on Friday in 10. I said Edward Allan Poe. Well, it's not. It's Edgar Allan Poe, right? My brain said the wrong word, even though it was the right word in the script. The spur of the moment. And there was nobody there to go, you screwed it up, because you weren't in that day when we filmed. So, these things happen. And after we'd filmed, after I'd driven Gamma the second time I got back, I asked to speak to Chris Anthony again, the CEO. They went and found him and brought him down. And I said, Chris, it's a different car. Really enjoyed the experience. I was very worried initially, much, much happier now. Great credit to the team, blah, blah, blah. But can I give you some advice? Make some freaking lists. I actually said that to him. Make a checklist so that when somebody takes a vehicle out, they follow the checklist. And if they don't, there is a level of accountability. Now, we're lucky. Chris Anthony, as a CEO, based on my personal experience of him, and I don't know him all that well, whenever I have dealt with him, he has always been affable, he's always been honest, and he's always been willing to admit when he screwed up. And that's exactly what he did. He did it on camera. And I think kudos to that, because I've met company CEOs before who would not do that. In fact, Robert Llewellyn and I once had a very similar experience with a converted Citroen C2 from a company called the London Electric Car Company. It was made in 2000 and I want to say we drove it in 2007 or 2008. It was back in my very early days of being an automotive journalist. And it did the same thing. It overheated and it stopped working. And I bet it was the same reason. I bet there was a cooling system fault and it just didn't work. I got a train back to Bristol because I'd got the train down to London and I'd met up with Robert to film. And on the way back, I sent them an email and said, hey, can you tell me why this failed? I'm writing the article right now and I want to give you a chance to tell me what the problem was. They turned around and told me it was me. I'd driven it too hard, which is the dumbassest blame game thing I've ever experienced. Turns out it was a cooling system thing, but they didn't want to admit that. They would rather blame me than say one of our engineers screwed up. So that gives you a really good idea of where we're at, right? And then on Sunday things happened. Oh, no. Okay. So we got back. Well, I'll just say why I got so angry. We got back what time? 9 o'clock?
Yeah, something like that.
So I got home at 10. You probably got home at 9.
Like 9:30ish.
9:30ish. Because Em actually lives a lot closer to the airport than I do. It's literally just down the road. Dumbassest is a word now. I have decreed it so.
If you use it, it's a word. That's how languages evolve.
Yes. Ask Donald Trump if you don't believe me. So I'm kind of frustrated because when we'd finished filming, because it was such a high stress filming day, and I don't know if you could tell it based on camera, but I was pulling my hair out going, oh God, how am I going to represent this on camera? Because my duty as a journalist is always to be fair, right? To try and be fair. And I hope that when I'm not fair, you call me on it. Sometimes you call me on it because you think I'm not being fair and I'm being horrible to a particular person. But you know, normally my train of thought is just completely broken. This is exactly what I'm saying. Right.
Driving back. Today. Got home. Normally we were going to offload all the footage on the way home, right? So after we'd finished filming, the plan was I had Shakrayan, I had Chandrayan, I had Lem. Lem is around here somewhere. Actually, Lem is in here, and this is Chandrayan. And then we have on the move. They're all big, like 2 to 4 terabyte hard drives, SSDs. I was going to copy them all off the GoPros. I was going to do the FFmpeg, which turns all of the individual GoPro files into one long GoPro file for each camera because it's easier to deal with it that way in post. I was going to do all of the audio processing, and then I was going to hand Em a hard drive at the airport. Let's move this along. I'm falling asleep. You really should talk to your captors. I believe it's against the Geneva Convention to force someone to watch YouTube channels they don't want to. You're not in a basement somewhere, are you?
1 tap for yes, 2 taps for no. All right, so
I've got a phone here. I can call for help.
Yep, and Kate's gone all glitchy again. So we were going to offload it on the plane, and then when we got back to Portland, I was going to give Em the hard drives. They were going to go and do the thing, and then they were going to work from home for the next 2 days and come up with an edit. Turns out we were just too exhausted to do that on the plane, so they actually came in early on Wednesday morning. I got up even earlier on Wednesday morning, like I got up at 5. I did all of the transcoding, all of the prep work for editing. By the time Em arrived at 8, I had a rough timeline ready. We edited that video. We turned it around in basically a day and a bit. So we did that and we got it out the door. And I was proud of my team. I think it's one of the best videos we've done. The narrative and everything else, we did a really good setup. There are 4 lights.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4.
There are.
So on Sunday, we got an email. Do you want me to read the email?
Oh, I can read it. It's pretty short. It's pretty short. It says, "Hi, would it be possible to use a clip from your YouTube video with a credit to you to go along with an article we are writing titled, quote, I drove new solar electric car. It died in the middle of the road and refused to go into park. Best wishes."
End quote. Yeah. And it was from somebody called Ben, who works at The Sun as a
video producer.
A video producer.
Which is weird because you know what we have here? It's a video. It doesn't need anything.
Producing.
We've done that bit.
The important thing here is, would it be possible to use a clip?
Mm-hmm.
Now, The Sun made a grievous error here. The Sun's grievous error was, hello, we're going to make a shit post about your video. Can we use a bit of it? I'm sorry, I just used the S word, but I couldn't think of anything else.
You did. I mean, but it's accurate. It's like, we're going to take this tiny segment of your video that makes the car look bad, and then we're going to write, and I use this term really loosely, I'm sorry to the dictionary, an article entirely based around like 10 seconds out of a 20-minute video.
All right. So at this point, I received this at, what time did I receive this? It was like at butt crack o'clock in the morning, like 5, 6 a.m. Apparently shit is a legit word, says mine.
I mean, so, it is in the dictionary.
It is in the dictionary. So they basically telegraphed, hey, we're going to do a hit piece. We want to do a hit piece. Now, to be fair to Ginny from Electrifying, she didn't get a choice. Bjorn Nyland didn't get reached out to and asked a question. And I don't think EV Man did either. So this is progress. I know it sounds like it's not, but this is progress. Also would be progress if you would consider supporting us at patreon.com/transportevolved. Yes, says Ghost.
Yes. You can also buy a t-shirt. We are a matched pair today.
Yes, nevermore. This is the best t-shirt that we've ever had. And how many t-shirts have we sold now?
60?
60 something. So by the end of this live stream, I would really like it if we could sell 100 of these. I know that sounds stupid, but 100 would be really lovely.
They'd make a great present.
So,
just saying.
We got this email. I think it rocked into my inbox about 5 a.m. I don't know, Kate, when you saw it, but I saw it about 5 a.m.
Yeah, I think I saw it when I woke up and I was like, oh, God.
Now, bear in mind that both Kate and I get up early.
Yeah, I'm up at like 6.
Our spouses, I know my spouse is a not morning person. I don't think your spouse is a morning person.
No, I mean, she gets up about 7.
Yes, okay.
If it's not a work day.
So my spouse got up and about 7, 8. And I didn't bring it up until she'd come downstairs and had something to drink and eat. I was like, okay, so we've had this email. I need to talk to you. And then I brought it up with the team we don't have a Slack channel, but I'm going to say we brought it up in our Slack channel so that you know what I mean. I brought it up in the team chat going, hey, we have a problem. The Sun has asked for this. And I would like to know what you guys think. And the lovely Kate came up with this as a wonderful response. Good morning. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for your interest in using a segment of our video. As a company policy, we retain full editorial control of all materials produced using our content, so do not license segments or reuse to other organizations for use in their own content. However, should you wish to license and include the entire video for your site, completely unmodified, uncut, and without any additional video or visual elements added, we would be happy to discuss a per view fee. Please do not hesitate to contact us at this email address if you have further questions. Transport Evolved editorial team.
We are nothing if not amenable.
Now, what we didn't say is that we would have had a very high per use fee. Very high per use fee.
Yeah, it's based on how much we like the company that wants to license it.
So at that point, I reached out to Aptera because it's only fair. I was like, hey guys, so because Aptera had already reached out and said, we loved the video, it was great, thank you for posting it. And just as a side here, I should reiterate, whenever we do a video about a company or a product, we never give early access to the people we are covering. The only time that there is an exception is if we are somewhere where there are other companies there who have existing legal agreements with the company we're filming. So, for example, when we went to WAE Technologies in the UK, now part of Fortescue, we came to an agreement with them that they wouldn't have editorial control, but that we would give them early access to the video, lest something showed up in the video that belonged to a company other than the one we were focusing on and needed to be removed. And actually, at one point, that was the case. They provided us, funnily enough, I don't think they'd mind me telling them this, they provided us with B-roll from their facility that they shot. And their B-roll package included a shot that we ended up using that showed on-screen stuff that was proprietary information. And they were like, oh, we can't let you use that. Can you remove it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Before that video even went live. So, so that is how it works, right? We don't give you access unless there is a legitimate, like, legal reason why you absolutely have to have it, and it cannot be for editorial control.
Yeah, it's just for if we've shown, like you said, if we've shown something on screen that we cannot show because it's not something that you can show, there's a legal agreement around.
Yeah. Obviously we have no choice when there was a pre-existing legal agreement.
We had that when we went to I've forgotten the name of the battery company, and they were in that tech incubator. And that went so well. But they are
battery and company at this point. It took me a while to think who you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm not naming them. But they hadn't really prepared ahead of time for the notion that...
Yeah, they'd said come down and interview with us, and we turned up and they had basically forgotten we were coming.
And their lab was shared with other people who were like, hell no, you can't wander around with cameras. So that was entertaining.
We ended up being cloistered in one particular conference room. We couldn't leave the conference room. We weren't allowed to film anything outside of the conference room. We had to pull the blinds down
to make sure you couldn't see the names of the companies in the parking lot.
Sorry, what was your response? Anyway. What was your response to the Sun? So again, I already read out the email, but basically we went, you can't use a segment. We only let people use our full video, unedited, unmodified. If you wish to do that, we can discuss licensing agreements. But they didn't respond. Now, I'd reached out to Aptera and I told them it was a great video of their conference.
It was delightful.
It was just the weirdest thing was like their legal department said, you must show us the video before it goes live. And it wasn't the company, the battery company. It was the owners of the property. That was the weirdest thing. They didn't care what was said in the interview. They had no interest in the interview. They were just worried that someone could figure out where the building was and the names of the other companies by looking through the blinds, through the opaque blinds, and identifying logos in the background.
We just make the pretty pictures. I know.
That was the weirdest day. How angry was I that day?
You were livid. Oh my god.
But the day we went down and we filmed with that company.
You were furious. You almost walked out.
I almost did walk out, and it was actually Em that said that saved the day. So anyway. So that is what happened with Aptera. I rang up Aptera, I went, hey, or emailed them. They then rang up and we had a conversation. It was like, hey, the Sun They'd never heard of the sun, I don't think, or they weren't. They'd heard of them, but they weren't aware of how toxic the sun can be. It was like, hey, you may just want to prepare something here. They've been sniffing around. We've said no, in a way, but they're probably going to run with the story anyway. And then this happened, and I'm going to do this now. This happened. So they ran this in the UK.
And in the US. It's on the US site as well.
It's on the US site as well. And I'm going to read it, and Kate's going to stop me. Or unless you want to read it, actually, it's probably easier if you read it and I stop you, because I was the one who filmed it.
Okay, let me. All right. I'll have to look over this way, sorry, because it's actually no, I can move it onto this screen. Give me one moment. One moment, please.
Hold the thing.
To quote Big Clive. Give me one more second because it's very small. Okay, so do you want the headline as well?
Yes.
Okay. Driving the future. I drove new solar electric car. It died in the middle of the road and refused to go into park.
Yeah, so I have a problem with the word "I," because the author of the article did not drive the new solar electric car.
Really?
No, it was me. I did not authorize them using my name and identity in the piece, but they are gutter.
Yes.
And gutter people will just do whatever they want, and they will use freedom of the press and or fair use.
And or a lot of lawyers.
All right.
So
Kate's one moment, please, is the same level ASMR as Big Clive's. That is quite an achievement.
Oh,
one moment, please.
I'm very touched.
Big Clive rocks.
He does.
All right.
A motorist who drove a new solar electric car has said it died in the middle of the road and refused to go into park mode. The car enthusiast took YouTube channel Transport Evolved to review the Aptera Gamma prototype.
The fact that Kate is struggling to speak these shows me just how atrocious it is. You're also popping again, Kate. And I think that no, you're staticking, doing that thing again that it does. The car enthusiast took YouTube channel Transport Evolved to review. That doesn't even have. It feels like it's written by a robot at this point. This feels like Chat GPT.
Spicy autocorrect.
Spicy autocorrect. All right. There you go.
The content creator took the prototype to a test drive. Sorry, no, that's not even a word. The content creator took the prototype to a drive test to see how well it performs. The car has been described as the, quote, world's first solar EV, and manufacturers claimed it doesn't require charging.
Which is technically not actually accurate.
Stunning.
Go on.
The three-wheeled vehicle was unveiled last year in San Diego, USA, but it hasn't hit showrooms yet.
Again, inaccurate. It was revealed for the first time a long time ago. In its current form, Aptera, the reborn Aptera, debuted in 2019.
Yep. But
I don't think it's going to showrooms.
Let's be fair. COVID has screwed with people's perception of time.
All right.
The car's expert Sad Aptera asked us if we'd like to come down to San Diego and drive its latest prototype. While our immediate impressions of Aptera Gamma were excellent, our day didn't start quite as we'd hoped.
These are all quotes. Yeah. I did actually say that.
You did. The solar electric vehicle is... You said it, though. You weren't sad about it. You just said it. I mean, you were a little sad, but, you know. The solar electric vehicle is still in pre-production state, with many of its features set to be changed after the launch
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm confused. I was unaware that Aptera were planning to suddenly completely change the vehicle after going through all the production validation stuff. But,
Yeah,
son, who
Tom
knows
says,
things.
Tom, I don't know. Where is it? I hope you will have an AED on the wall. I see a cardiac arrest coming soon. Tom, do you know that I have a heart condition? Is that why you're saying it? Because that would be hilarious. I do have an AED downstairs.
Right. Did you wish me to continue with this fine article? You do? Okay. The center console area and the rear view cameras are going to be fitted higher for a better vision. The motorist said the suspension on this vehicle is about production status, and at the moment it does feel a bit on the firm side. But
which I then later said, actually, once you're at speed, it feels much better on off surface streets or on faster roads.
Yes. Quote, but it's worth noting here, driving around this residential area, the roads are not the smoothest. Second of all, there's none of the sound insulation that you'll see in the production vehicle has been installed. So the resulting finished feel of this vehicle, I'm told, is going to be a lot quieter. The driver also noted the side view cameras are yet to be changed once the final product is finished.
That makes no sense. How can you change it once it's finished? How?
I would prefer to move the monitors into a different location, they said. But while listing the features, the driver was left in shock when the vehicle suddenly stopped in the middle of the road. It wasn't really in the middle of the road. It was at a junction. You kind of stopped at a junction, but never mind. The YouTuber said, right now we don't have regenerative braking and we have just died and it won't go into park.
Okay, so let's stop there. So what I was saying, and I realized while I was watching the edit here, was I was going to say, right now, they don't have regenerative braking working and it's only friction braking. But I was interrupted by the car going ka-thunk. So then I changed to, and we've just died. Those two concepts were separate in my head. And I do want to just clarify this, because we've had some criticism from people who've got very angry that we even included the first bit. I've had a couple of people basically accuse us of sensationalism and being anti-EV because we showed the vehicle having an issue and then carrying on. They're like, well, a real journalist would just talk about the good bits. I'm like, no. My job as a journalist is to represent what happened factually. In this case, it was also to give my opinion. And in the video, I actually talk about this is a great demonstration of engineering in effect. It shows that engineering a vehicle is gritty and hard, and sometimes things go wrong. And we need to understand that in order to successfully keep things, going forwards. All right, so do you want to carry on? Let's carry on.
We can carry on. The motors expert then explained the reason why the car died. According to Aptera manufacturers, because there are many of them, the vehicle became overheated after a previous test drive. CEO Chris Anthony said he took the car to a previous test drive before the influencer could jump in, and I'm really quite offended by that, just on your behalf. Mr. Anthony said, I have to apologize. A severe tactical error on my part had me taking out 2 investors from New York on a vicious test ride before. Quote, apparently, I didn't start the startup sequence as I was supposed to, which turns on the fan and the cooling. Once the car's inverter cooled down to normal levels, the driver gave it another try. The EV van said, it's like driving a completely different vehicle. Now that this vehicle is behaving as it should, I'm actually enjoying the experience, but I'd still like some better side view mirrors. It comes as a electric car expert was left disappointed after trying a major brand's new electric vehicle. Content creator Tish took to YouTube channel Electraheads to review a all-new electric SUV. I think the N key on their keyboard isn't working. Or they used it all in other letters, in other words, because they never use the word "an" where it should be. I'm sorry, it just makes me annoyed. And that, my dear folks, is the end of this fine article produced with great effort and in-depth reporting by The Sun.
Now, we should talk about some of their other stories, right? So they've done some really terrible...
Some of the other EV reporting.
Their other EV reporting.
Reporting. I wish, sometimes I think my life could be much easier because, like, clearly you don't actually need to do research. You can just, bang your hands on the keyboard for 5 minutes and produce an article.
So they've now got, here we go. If you go to their motoring section, and I'm not promoting that I suggest
no, don't
does,
go to there. If you have the misfortune that your kidnapper takes you to the motoring section.
Yes. So apparently they've been using a lot of Scotty Kilmer stuff, who is notoriously anti-EV. Most expensive country for charging up an electric car revealed. We took a Tesla on a 435-mile road trip. Here's why it wasn't what we expected. Disaster for EV drivers as their cars risk becoming uninsurable. I tried major brand's new EV and I don't know what they were thinking. Can you see a pattern here?
No, enlighten me. What seems to be the issue? Surely they're just reporting accurately and factually.
So they basically quote, this is what they do. They basically gutter tribe report and stuff. That Sun article reads like an incompetent AI wrote it. Now, the author's profile appears to be a real human. She is not known to me as an automotive journalist. I suspect she is a lowly copy editor.
And it seems they don't have any proofreaders.
They don't have any proofreaders. And this is somebody who got upset with herself about saying the wrong word.
I mean, I think the thing is, like, the interesting thing to me is that even at like the most basic level, if you're quoting from a video, you make it more from a live recorded video, not from a video where it's pre-scripted, then you make it more intelligible by making the sentences a bit more grammatically correct. Because when we speak, we don't speak like a pre-scripted video. If you listen to the way humans speak, there are ums, there are ers, there are, like, you get to the middle of the sentence like I just did, and you change direction slightly, and you put
especially if you're me.
And especially if you're one of us, then, yeah, we have a lot of thoughts running through our heads, and then we don't necessarily exactly contextually follow one thing to the next. So historically, when you take quotes from people, or even if you're just interviewing someone and you interview them and you quote them and you put little brackets in and you put a ... a little ellipsis, so that you know that they've taken some words out, but you've made the sentence make sense. And I've done that actually, like when we have interviewed guests on the channel, and the sentence they've said, you know what their intent was because you were talking to them, but it doesn't grammatically make sense. Then sometimes you'll clip that bit out in the middle and stick the two ends together so that the sentence transfers the meaning that they're intending to. But they haven't done this. They've just taken like random sentences and taken them as they are in the video.
Out of context.
Out of context. And then added some typos just for fun.
And Tom says, do they have any paragraphs with more than one sentence? I don't believe so, Tom.
No,
and
that's actually historically how the Sun writes. So the Sun is intended to be available content to people who have not had a great education, so may really struggle with longer form sentences and longer form structures.
It's also worth noting that, sorry to interrupt you there, Kate. It's also worth noting that when my dad, who is sadly no longer with us, but my dad would be 79 this year, right? If he was still alive. 79? No, he wouldn't. He'd be 78. I do apologize. I can't math today. I realized this morning, sidetrack, like we were saying, I just realized I'm not 45 next week. I'm 44 next week. I'm 1 year younger than I thought I was.
That's all right. People keep asking me my age and I keep screwing it up. And then my wife is like, no, Kate, no.
So anyway, when he was at school, he could have left at 14, and I think he probably did leave school at 14. Now, my dad was the only person in his family, the only person on his farm who went on to go to agricultural college and get a degree in farming. But it was very common for people to leave school age 14, right up until the 80s, wasn't it, Kate?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a point when they switched and made it 16.
I was going to say, when you and I were at school, it was 16. You could leave school at 16, and some of my friends did.
I think that might have happened with the GCSEs when GCSEs came in.
Right. So Nikki is very traditionally anti-EVK. God, they picked up on that. Good one, Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the joke that Tom said about I hope you've got an AED nearby because it looks like you're going to have a heart attack. He did not know that I have an AED downstairs or that I have a rare heart condition. I should point out though that when my adrenaline gets high, it does cause me problems because adrenaline, long QT is triggered by adrenaline. Basically, it's the heart trying to deal with all of the adrenaline and not doing a very good idea. So I'm 44 next Wednesday. So I'm still 43. Yay for 1 more week.
Baby. Tiny baby.
Hey, you're not that much older than me. Although you like to pretend it sometimes.
Oh, I'm so old. I'll feel it. I'll
the
tell
same
you.
paper that told us about Black Boy? Yeah, it is. I mean, they're known for being just gutter tripe, absolutely terrible. But so that is the thing of events. I've had a couple of people reach out, emails, angry messages, angry that we let the sun run our story. Oh, you precious summer child. Nikki is 3 weeks older than me.
Can I just say though, when I saw this, I was like, well, let's just see what happens to the analytics. And because, the Sun has 7 readers and all of them are, not. Anyway, so, it has had, as far as I can tell, pretty much no impact on the analytics. Like, no one.
I mean, we had some BS last night. I had some random, what is this nonsense. But interestingly, because of the Aptera video, YouTube has decided it's going to start promoting our other videos. So most recent comments include our e-bikes killing people, the goodbye video for the Honda, one from a couple of years ago, Peterbilt trucks.
Oh my god! Was that me? Is that my?
Yeah, that was from CES 2018.
Oh wow!
So I'm starting to see. So the other thing that's fun, and this is kind of now we're on here, YouTube is now starting to automatically classify comments from 8+ years ago as spam.
I know. I've been going through, and it's like wild. You get these random things.
So YouTube is completely broken. The good news is that our analytics, our income has actually gone up a little bit. But like I say, if you want us to make more content, if you want to support us, if you want to see us making more content, you really do need to help us out at patreon.com/transportevolved, because YouTube is no longer supporting us financially. YouTube is no longer bringing in enough money. It used to be that YouTube brought in about half of the money that we needed to pay everybody. Now it doesn't even cover one person's salary, even though we're seeing similar view counts to what we used to on a lot of our big videos. YouTube's changed how it's doing it. It now wants people to do basically product placement in videos, which is bonkers. 8-year-old comments on 8-year-old videos. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the one I just reapproved was a 4-year-old comment on a 4-year-old video. And it was like, I think this is spam. And I'm like, well, it kind of is not great. It's someone harping on about graphene and they want to promote their own thing, but they actually made a comment and I don't really care. It's a 4-year-old video.
Yeah, and I just actually saw that pop right back into my spam folder again. So YouTube is deciding that it is, I mean, the algorithm is very, very unwell. And so we're going to be making some more content. I apologize that we weren't able to tell everybody where we were going last week. I know I was really super sneaky about it. So we were going to go down to Aptera just after Fully Charged Live. It was supposed to be the week after.
The week after, wasn't it?
The week after Fully Charged Live, and I got a message from Aptera going, yeah, we've still got some concerns that we want to just make sure the vehicle is 100% before we get it to you. And so they did some more engineering testing, and I was totally fine with that. And like I say, it was just a PEB, like I say in the video, it was a PEBCAC problem.
It's the worst kind. It's the hardest to fix.
Yeah. Problem exists between keyboard and computer. And it literally was that. It was that the machine was working exactly as designed.
Yeah.
There was an engineer who sat in there who went, yeah, we'll just put a little manual switch just so we can test it, just so we can get it running. Obviously, we're going to work on that for the future production intent vehicle. It won't have that. It will be automatic. But for now, while we're still finishing the design, let's just put a manual switch in so that we can test the vehicle. Problem exists between yoke and car. Is that what you're saying, Bennett?
I think that might be.
Pebyak. YouTube makes the careers of so many content producers, and now it apparently wants to break them. Yeah, and I am honestly very worried about the future of Transport Evolved. I'm going to be really honest with you and go, look, I was very, very heightened in my stress levels yesterday about the Sun, not because of the video, but because they're anti-trans. Yeah. And I was like, if they get their teeth into us, we're done.
I mean, part of the reason...
And they still could do that. They still could do that.
They could. I mean, part of the reason we responded the way we did, like, the initial thought was we should just... God, it's really bright. We should just say no. Like, that... Historically, we haven't had a lot of requests for this kind of stuff. We've had some requests for, like, clips of our videos to go into roundup things, and sometimes we'll say yes and sometimes we'll say no, depending on the intent. Like if it's just we want to do a roundup of EV news creators and we want to include a short clip of you, then
right.
Sure.
So Google asked us a couple of months back if they could use a video from a couple of years ago about a topic. And I was like, and I responded with, yeah, but you're asking to use a video from like 6 years ago, and we've made more recent videos that look better.
Yeah.
Here's a link. And they ended up using the more recent video.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And that's, I mean, we're okay with that. But with the Sun, we were very explicit in saying that we didn't want to say a flat out no because of who we are and the fact that gutter press, particularly British gutter press, so Mail and Sun and the Star to some extent, have deliberately tried to drive queer people.
Oh, your microphone's died, Kate. You might have to re-enable it again. Sorry.
It said the host did that. You were done with me, were you?
No. I did not. Oh, unless I pressed the M button on the keyboard.
I think you might have. Yeah, that they have deliberately tried to harm people. They have doxed people. They have pushed queer people into situations that are untenable. And so we were very much aware that that was a possibility. So we wanted to be amenable, but at the same time make it undesirable.
Yes. Yes.
As opposed to what we'd have liked to do, which is say, no, go away.
Sorry, the that I was trying to spend to Mike was what muted you. I'm sorry. You're also now crackling as well. You started crackling again. Yeah, Kate is crackling again. So, you know, we did play it on a, we do always play it on a case-by-case basis. And while Kate's fixing her microphone, let's talk about ecotricity. It's fixed. So there is a company that we work with who have their own YouTube channel. They're called Ecotricity. They're based in New Zealand. They're different to the UK Ecotricity. They are different companies. They have no association with each other. They are completely separate. They do not have a shared history or anything. They just happen to have a similar name. We produce content for them. We do the news roundup show. We do 10 for them, but we get rid of the shorts and we just do 10 stories and we call it Ecotech Roundup. And it has a different background and all of that. And we do that under license for them. We produce them. It goes out on a Saturday. That is licensed by us. They got a licensed, sanctioned version of the Aptera drive without the advert for our sponsor, who we'd agreed to do it for our channel. And they are legitimate.
Yes.
So I just want to reiterate, if you ever see a video from Ecotricity NZ, they are legitimately using our content. We uploaded it for them.
If you watch it, you'll actually see like that there's a different ending typically.
Yes.
And sometimes there's slight differences to localize the content to New Zealand. It depends on what we're doing.
Yep. So just so you know, but if you see someone else do it, it's no. You may also notice that we have pulled our PeerTube version of this video, the Aptera video, at least I think we have. We've also prevented embedding. This is because they tried embedding it on their website. And we did not want them to have it. And we said no. So we have disabled embedding. And we have disabled the ability for them to use our video.
It seems they've actually now removed it. They've updated the article and removed the link to the video.
Which is interesting.
Because they didn't like the fact that you had to go to YouTube to watch it.
And yeah, and they probably... what are you going to do about the sun? Let's talk about that. What can we do about the sun? Bugger all. Now, we could file a complaint with the Press Complaints Commission in the UK. The Press Complaints Commission in the UK is basically designed to make sure that the media act appropriately. Now, the PCC has issued rulings against the Sun before and has found them guilty of some pretty terrible stuff. With my journalist hat on, the Sun's coverage of this particular story is not so egregious that I think the PCC would rule in our favor.
No.
They might just say, yeah, you need to change the I drove and say they drove or something like that.
Yeah.
And the Sun are going to carry on doing their anti-EV thing because they have a vested interest in not seeing EVs succeed. They support the Conservative government right now, as far as I'm aware.
They have done. I mean, the only time they didn't, I think they supported New Labour for a little bit, which is essentially Conservative light.
Yes. They have already made a huge amount of money from our video, even though our video was not included. They are effectively fair using because they're quoting our story. And look, we do that all the time. we regularly include a story, somebody else has done this, and then we'll link to their story, or we'll say this person said this. The difference is we try and be accurate when we do it.
Yeah.
We do our grammar checks as well.
Yeah.
So we could try and take them to a small claims court if they'd actually used our video, but they didn't.
No, I mean, they are well practiced at
Being weasels.
to the line.
They weasel through the legality, and they have a big legal department.
Our legal department is very small.
Yes. And if the Sun decide, I mean, the Sun, wouldn't surprise me if someone from the Sun is watching this live stream and is now going to try and dig up crap about us, because that's how they work.
It's very easy. You look on my Mastodon and I tell you everything about my life. It's very boring.
Ditto.
Did you want to see me tiling? I have lots and lots of posts about tiling and cutting wood.
Do you want to see me taking my motorcycle apart? I have lots of video about that and how I stripped a bolt. I stripped a bolt yesterday on my gearbox. And
that's going to be the headline tomorrow.
I stripped a bolt on a rare electric scooter. Yeah. And then they'll twist it to say that, this is a terrible electric scooter because you can't buy spare parts for it. Etc. etc. Where are the videos of the bike and the bolt? Which video do we mean?
Oh, is this when you say bolt? Are you referring to the bolt with the stripped thread?
Oh yes. I have video that I did get a video. It's on the GoPro. Has yet to be offloaded, but there will be a video that I'm going to make at some point. She's a stripper. Yeah, I didn't actually strip the bolt. This is the fun thing. I didn't strip the bolt. I didn't. I didn't strip the bolt. I was very lucky, actually. It was an 8.8. It had an 8.8 stamped on the head, which I can't remember what the torsional strength of that is. But I was torquing it, and my torque wrench decided not to tell me when it was at the torque setting and just carried on. And then rare electric scooter destroyed by an empty YouTube. Maybe we should just get you guys to write our headlines. So I stripped it. I didn't strip it. I felt it go click. I didn't feel it go click. I felt it go, that when you're tightening a bolt and it then starts to give and suddenly it gets easier to tighten?
Yeah, that horrible, horrible moment.
And
yes,
I was
I'm
like,
familiar.
Oh, crap. So I flipped it into reverse. Actually grabbed my actual ratchet, flipped it into reverse and gently backed it out. And it came out. As it came out, I went to it came all the way out, and I picked it out of the end of the socket and looked at it, and then I literally held it like this and went like this, and it snapped. So I extracted it without any problems, but it could have been so much worse. I got all of the others out, and one of the others hadn't broken. There was a shoulder about 3/4 of the way up the bolt towards the head, where it went thin and then fat again. And I'm like, okay, I'm replacing all the bolts. So I filled the gearbox back up with oil. I put that all back on. I do not ever want to take the gearbox apart again, and I know I'm going to have to. I'm worried about replacing the bolts, and I'm worried that I probably over-torqued it again because 3 of the bolts didn't actually go to their torque setting, and 2 of them did, or 3 of them did. So I'm like, I'm just going to leave it there. It's not leaking. It's tight. The wheel is back on. That's torqued up. The suspension's torqued up. The rear axle's torqued up. And the front wheel's back on. I need to do the brakes. I need to reverse the brakes because I learned the other day that some lovely person at some point in the past replaced the brakes, the front brakes and the rear brakes. Kate, you're a motorcyclist. Which hand is the front brake on?
That's
on a motorbike?
That's your clutch.
Yeah.
That's your grabby hand.
That's your grabby hand. Guess what they did?
Put them the other way around.
I've got a front brake, except my front brake is now here where the clutch would be, and my rear brake is where my front brake should be.
Well, I mean, you're riding a growed up moped, so because the brake has to be on my foot. It's not. I don't.
No, it has to be on my foot also. I wish I could
can't-
make an
can't cope with
aftermarket
that.
foot brake for the bike, but yeah, that's how it goes. So I'm gonna have to move the brakes around. I did put the brakes on and I cleaned the pistons, but I need to bleed the brakes and flip them round. And I also have a broken fan on the motor controller apparently. So there's more things to do, but the bike is now at least off the stand and on its own wheels, and it looks much better. And there will be a video coming at some point soon on that. As I said earlier on, my truck is at the shop as well because I screwed up and reversed into a wall.
My car is also at the shop. Well, actually, not my car, but my wife's car.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a Soul which is subject to the battery replacement. Well, not the battery; it's they're replacing the BMS, and then they'll tell me whether they need to replace the basically perfect battery.
Yeah.
So
Stefan is saying front brake on the left and rear brake on the right is normal for my bike. Yes, a bicycle in countries. Now you know why that is. In countries where you drive on the right-hand side of the road, that is the normal way round. Because if you're going to be doing hand signals, you want to be able to continue to brake with your rear brake while you do hand signals. But in motorbike world, they do it like left-hand drive countries where it's the other way around. So I grew up obviously in the UK, which is a left-hand drive country, or we drive on the left-hand side of the road. Right-hand, they call it right-hand drive, but we drive on the left. In those countries, your front brake is on the right and your rear brake is on the left for the same reason. The arm that you're going to use that goes across traffic is the one that holds the front brake.
Which is interesting because I think the brakes on my e-bike are the British way round, despite it being American. Well, Chinese. And then
that's interesting. When I went, so when I used to cycle, like when I first graduated from music school, I cycled 50 miles a day, towing a trailer with musical instruments in it. And I used to ride a lot. And when I was at university, I didn't use the London Underground very much. I normally cycled everywhere. And I went on tour to Geneva in Switzerland for a course. 3 influencer EVs broken down and in for repairs again. And so
I could be so happy.
Yeah.
They were watching this live stream.
By the way, did you pick up on the fact that they used only they for me in their piece?
Yes.
Because they've been wrapped in the past for misgendering people. I thought that was very interesting. Because they didn't do that on other videos. No.
It's almost like they're transphobic.
Yes. Anyway, so I went on a tour to Geneva, and I had a day off, and I was with some friends from Europe, and I was like, "Hey, let's rent some bicycles and go around Lake Geneva." And we went past the statue of Freddie Mercury that is on Lake Geneva, which is just the weirdest place to have a statue of Freddie Mercury. He has some connection to that place, but anyway, a dog ran out in front of me. And I had been big upping all day, and I was like 19 at the time, so cut me some slack. I had been upping all day how good I was on a bike and doing silly tricks and stuff. And this dog runs out in front of me, and of course I do what I expected was an emergency brake for a British bike. I did an emergency brake the wrong way round, slammed on the anchors, and went head over heels. Went over the handlebars. So yeah.
I mean, I borrowed Kate's bike when you all were in Bristol, Kate lent me her bike because I didn't have one. And I did not come off, but it was very close because I grabbed a handful of the wrong brake because her bike was American.
Yeah, Kate, my wife, had brought a bike over from the US, and it's still in the UK. We didn't bring it back with us. So anyway,
I mean, it's a problem that's solved on my other bike because it's from 1930, and you can grab a handful and still nothing happens. It still books you in for a slight retardation in 3 weeks' time.
So I have been let onto the very rare, very top secret Vectrex WeChat group, or WhatsApp group, sorry, the WhatsApp group, where there are actually people that still do things for the Vectrex. So I need to buy a top box holder so I can put a proper top box on the bike. I need to buy a new charger for it because apparently there's a new charger that will work better. And I need to put batteries in with a new battery management system. So it's going to take a long time. It is a project vehicle, and I'm not going to be riding it as a daily rider anytime soon. But that's where we're at. But anyway, I thought I'd share the brake thing because all this time I'd thought it was the front brake that was just really weak and ineffectual. But it was the rear brake that was really weak and ineffectual, and the front brake was not much better, which is how I wasn't telling, because normally if you grab the front brake on a motorbike in an emergency, the whole front end of the bike goes down. And I kept going, why isn't the front not going down? Maybe the shocks need replacing or something. So that's why.
Ooh.
Yes, Electron has a NACS to CCS adapter for pre-order now, which you won't be able to use.
I mean, you say you won't be able to use it. The question is whether you will be breaking the T&Cs of the charging provider that you're using.
Yeah. And I think maybe that is it. Anyway, I'm going to let you all go now. I'm going to, should I tell people where I'm going? Is that a smart move?
I think it's fine to tell people.
So I'm going to a conference this week. I'm going to what's its official name? They changed it, and I don't want to say it. I don't want to say the wrong name of the conference. I'm going to the National E-Mobility DEI conference. That will really piss off the sun. In Washington D.C. On Tuesday and Wednesday this week. No, Wednesday and Thursday this week. So again, made possible because of you guys. If you're a Patreon supporter, thank you. I was able to get a half-price ticket, plane ticket, because I had airline credits from a press event that I'm supposed to go to many, many years ago that I couldn't go to at last minute, and it was I got a credit back from the airline, even though it was a ticket I originally didn't pay for. So I've been able to use that because it was expiring at the end of this year. So I'm going to the National E-Mobility DEI conference in Washington, D.C. this week, which means that Kate is going to be taking care of 10. And Kate, you are going to be working as much as you can to film this up to the line, but you don't work on a Friday or a Thursday normally.
Well, and I can't work on a Friday. It's not like I can just shift and do things so that I can film on a Friday, which would be ideal, or on a Thursday night, which would be ideal. Because I'm doing my other job on a Friday, and apparently, I can't work from home in the ER. I've suggested it, but they don't seem very up for that.
No. So Kate is going to be filming 10, and 10 will be early in terms of content. It will go out as normal on a Saturday, but we're going to put in a disclaimer going, hey, at the beginning of this, hey, we're filming this 2 days earlier than normal. And so if there's been a late breaking news story at the end of the week, it won't be in, and Nikki will take care of it next week. Or possibly Kate will take care of it next.
Maybe Nikki will take care of it next week. It depends how.
Because I'm flying the next week. I'm off to, where am I going? LA? the following week?
No, you just zip about all over the place. It's this influencer lifestyle you lead.
Oi, both of you, pack it in.
It must be true. It was in the Sun.
I'll allow it. So yeah, I'm heading off to Washington DC on actually I'm flying tomorrow, so I'm red-eyeing it to try and save money because hotels and flights are expensive and I can't afford them. So I'm going to be, bless you, that was my wife sneezing in the other room very loudly. I'm going to be leaving tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to red-eye it to DC. I'm going to be arriving very, very early on Wednesday morning. So if anyone has any good suggestions for breakfast spots in Washington, D.C., please let me know. Then I'm going to be taking part in the DEI conference on Wednesday. I will be on one of the panels on Wednesday. And then I'm just trying to find the web address to make sure I do it right. Copy link address. I will be going very, very early, and then I will be taking part in the virtual day, which is on Wednesday. So Wednesday will be a virtual day, and then Thursday is an in-person day. And the reason I'm going is I want to make sure that we as a channel get to meet and talk to some really amazing people who are doing amazing things in the EV world, both from personal mobility solutions through to public transit and policies that mean that our transition to electric vehicles is cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable. You may have noticed that we've changed it from cleaner, greener, safer, smarter to cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable. And there's a reason for that. So we are going to be doing that. If you want to take part in that conference, you can actually follow the link that I've just put in the chat, and you can still sign up. So I'm going to be taking part in the conference, talking about marketing EVs to people. So that's one of the things that I'll be talking about there. Anyway, I think we are just about done.
I think so. I think we just need to remind people that they can support the channel at www.patreon.com/transportevolved. And they can do that from $1 a month or even less if you pay yearly.
Yep. And in terms of the number of people who have joined up, you have really helped. We are still a long way away from what we used to have. In fact, it's someone who unsubscribed this morning. How could you? So we are now doing free memberships. So you can test out and see what's going on. But it would be useful. Really, the highlighted tier is now $1. It was $5, but we've now switched that to $1. So we'll be setting that up so you can support us from $1 a month. You know, it really does. It does really help because it allows us to remain completely independent, and it means that we don't have to kowtow to nonsense when people decide they want to use our content without our permission. Thank you very much, Tom. Very kind. Yes. And now you know the full story, the backstory and everything else. I hope that, I know some people were like, well, this is a really, really long and boring video, and I didn't expect why you did that. That is the way it is. That is the way it is. That's everything that happened. One person was upset with our video and thought that it was a marketing video, and they were upset that when they went to Aptera's website, that Aptera was like, you could be you could be an investor and get a position in the queue, and they were asking how we felt about that. Thank you, Tom. Very kind of you to join up. We have no control over how a company promotes, and I don't feel that Aptera doing the hey, give us more money and you get first in line is any different to anything else that's happened. I mean, Tesla's first Model S, for earliest Model S's were given to investors, or not given, sold to investors or people who had an inside at the company. And I think the same is true for a lot of car companies. I think Aptera has been much more open and honest about it. Frankly, I have no problem with other people going first, because everybody knows that the initial year or so of production of any vehicle is always going to be a little bit, there's going to be issues, right? So by me holding back, because I am a reservation holder for Aptera, I may not buy one because I may not be able to afford it. Right now, I couldn't afford it. There's no way I could afford to buy an Aptera. And people keep asking me, oh, but you have it for free Aptera, because we have the Aptera referral program, because people asked about the Aptera referral program. And I said, yes, I would do that. Thank you very much, Andy, by the way, for that kind donation.
Thank you.
So we do have an Aptera referral, and I think we have now gained enough referrals to get a free Aptera, basic Aptera, if and when it ever comes to market. And it is if and when. There's still a long way. It may not happen. But if it does, any kind of free cars or bonus cars that might come my way are going to be auctioned off for charity, because I can't, with good conscience, make money from something I've promoted like that. Because it would be disingenuous for me to be promoting a company saying, hey, buy this car and I'll get a free one. By the way, I'm covering this car. That would just feel weird.
I feel didn't we do a video on that?
We did. We made a video about it. I just reminding people because people asked.
Yeah, I think if you have more questions about that, there is a video, and it's linked to in the section of the
our show notes
of our show notes, where it talks about the Aptera referral code. It says this is what we're doing with it.
And a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just get a free car? Like, because I couldn't do that. So there's that. Will I buy one? I'd like to. Like I say, I don't know if I'll be able to afford it at the moment. I can't. I haven't been paying myself much lately. Transport Evolved needs to bring in another $10,000 a year, really, before I can start regularly paying myself. And just so that you're aware, the computer I'm talking to you on right now is on its last legs and needs to be replaced. I'm kind of worried about it, actually. It took rendering out the Aptera video took 3 hours with 2 graphics cards plugged in, and the GPUs and the CPUs were over 100 degrees Celsius. Very, very unhappy. They're starting to fall apart. So at some point I do need to buy a new machine, and that's not going to be cheap. So there are other things that have to come first. And I'm not telling you all this for you to feel sorry about. It's for you to feel sorry for me or sorry for the company or the channel. This is just me being as transparent and as honest as we always are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if someone wants to donate some money to help us buy a new computer, great. Fine. Yeah, maybe we will sign off the auction Tesla. That's Aptera. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's why we do what we do. And yeah, I don't have a problem waiting for mine, because then I have a better chance of being able to afford it, and a better chance that there's not going to be any launch issue hiccups, because they happen with every vehicle, as they did with my truck. So
they do with every vehicle.
As they do with every vehicle.
The first, it doesn't matter petrol or electric or powered by steam. You're still going to have those problems that get worked out in the first 10,000 cars.
Yeah, exactly. And so, look, I'm not in this world for me. If I wanted to make money, if I wanted to make good money, there would be plenty of other jobs I could do before this. That would allow me to make lots of money. I would probably do voiceover work more, and I would love to do more voiceover work. I think if Transport Evolved ever does end, I would try and get into voiceover work. As if you've heard me talk before, you've heard me do voiceover stuff. I can do quite a lot of voiceover stuff. I have done that. I went to a music and drama school. I know how to do that. But I choose to do this because I want the world to be a better place for everybody. That's why we push so hard when it comes to affordability. And the video that Em's working on right now is about affordability. So, I want to see our species not require money, says the person with the Enterprise D. I wonder where that idea came from.
I'd just quite like to see our species survive. That would be quite
I
nice.
would like to see us survive.
I mean, although I'm kind of undecided about whether that's a good idea, but being a member of the species, at least notionally, then I kind of think it'd be useful.
And finally, before we go, I'm just going to ask people watching. We've got a couple of videos coming up, and I'd love your opinions on what order you'd like them in. So we're working on a video about access to APIs and how you feel about that. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Who was it? Mazda issued a DCMA takedown against somebody who was writing software for Home Assistant. I want to do a video on that. Would you like me to do a video on that? Because I have a couple of ideas as to how that would look, and why it's a good thing that people do hackery and stuff. Why that can actually be a beneficial thing, compared to other things. The clapper was replaced by X10, followed by further automation. Yeah, the clapper was clap on, clap off. X10, it's been around for a really long time, and now we use other stuff. Definitely, yes, a video about API video. All right, I'll start work on that right now then.
Answered that question nice and easily.
All right, Kate, what are you working on?
So there will be a video about the Soul BMS recall, where I will actually talk about what's wrong with the car and not just go off on some humorous anecdote that has popped into my head, which I did last time. And I am working very slowly on a video about new battery chemistries. That's going to be a while because there's a lot to read and to summarize in a way that isn't very, very dry, despite the fact that people always tell me that I could just read the papers and not put jokes in. But
we try and add humor, and one of the things that I don't think people get is that you get 2 days a week on stuff.
Yeah.
And in those 2 days, you generally do a video, or you work on a video over multiple weeks, and so you can make a lot more jokes and a lot more fun. I just basically have often less than a day to get a video in and out, and so my videos sometimes are a little drier. Also, I'm not as awesome as you, so
I think the thing is that if we were just trying to market our videos to highly technical engineers, then fine, but that is a small market segment, and then, or very much a niche market segment, and I'm not sure we're quite the people to be doing that. And then finally, the other video that I'm working on, which will probably be the first one that you will see, other than 10, which I'm might be doing
excited about this,
is the concrete supercapacitors one,
which we did. And we had fun with calculations, and we're still not sure we got the calculation. Have we double checked our maths?
We have. I think I've triple checked it. So that is going to be available, and I think that's my 3 at the moment.
Yep. And the concrete video has some great voiceover talent in it, I understand.
That is the plan. It's not filmed yet. No. But the opening of that video, we have plans for. My wife was going to do it this weekend, but she had her COVID vaccine just before the weekend and was not feeling fabulous on Sunday. And I also had a rough couple of days in the ER. So on Sunday, I was like, that was basically how I spent Sunday.
Yes.
I went to the market and then came back and didn't. So hopefully it'll be dry enough next weekend for us to film, because that has an outdoor open. And I'm telling you nothing else.
And I've read the script and it's hilarious. So I'm going to go and write scripts now. I haven't put makeup on today, and I'm not going to put makeup on today, but that's the situation. You've had me and Kate and I, sorry, must do this correctly. Was criticizing the Sun for their terrible use of grammar and punctuation.
I'm appalled. Frankly, I'm appalled, and I'm leaving.
Don't forget to buy the t-shirt. Thanks everybody, and we will see you soon. The t-shirt is in the store. You can go buy it. It is a great t-shirt. You should definitely do it. I think honestly it's the best t-shirt that Erin has done to date. And if you order now, you will get it in time for next week. And honestly, this is a t-shirt you could just wear at any time of the year.
Oh, I'm wearing this all year round.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my new shirt.
And we're going to work on some holiday ones, don't worry. Thanks for joining us. Keep evolving.